Hi, I'm Duncan Moss, and I'd like to welcome you to my latest Beatle blog. And I'm going to be talking about George Harrison's 1974 album Dark Horse. And the blog is entitled "Is It As Bad as the Critics Say?" And well, it was. This is the cover of it. This is the CD version. Actually, I've only got that. That's the front with the um, Beatle Brad has done uh, a review very recently. This is not to challenge that. It's sort of to complement it. The album has an inner sleeve with a load of uh, which basically just has the track listing and who worked on each track, and then very much like the album label, the CD's done very much in that way. With that's it, that's George there. And well, just go and just talk about give a track each individual review. The first track is called Harry's on Tour Express. It's an instrumental, and it's a very nice instrumental. It's beautifully some beautiful guitar work. It's quite up tempo. It's very nice, and I think it starts the album off very well. Just some beautiful full guitar work, and the instrumental, the session musicians, the right throughout the album, the musicianship is top notch. The second track is simply Shady. It's basically George being very reflective on how sad and difficult life can be. It's quite a slow number, but it's very pleasant. He was George was given at the time a bit of a hard time because his he had I think it's laryngitis at the time of recording, and a lot of people don't like his vocals. They said they were quite gritty. I don't think it's a disaster at all, his voice. I think we've never heard him sound quite like this before. I think he gives him a sort of gritty edge to his voice. Almost sexy if you're but I don't think it spoils the album at all. He'll never sound the same like that again, so you can argue it's just a part of just a part of his solo output, a different dimension. The next track is one of my favorites. It's called So Sad, and it's a beautiful number. Again, it's not going to make you go through the roof, but it is a very very catchy little song, a bit more up tempo than simply Shady. Again, it is about sadness in life. I think it's about very lonely person. Uh, but George's slide guitar is just amazing, and it could almost have been released as as a single. I think. Very nice. Now then, George launches into a version of "Bye Bye Love," which is well, it's very different from the Everly version. Uh, Almost so. A lot of people hated it. It doesn't set me on fire, but I applaud George for trying to come up with to give a fresh interpretation of the song, and it's inoffensive. And I think it was a brave effort. We then got Mayor Love, again quite a slow uh, number, quite quiet. George is enjoying the song, what he often does, George, is he writes a song, gets the melody, and just lets it go on for a very long time. He just sort of enjoys the song, which is nice. It's better than thinking, "Oh, I've got to get it over with." Maybe it's a minute too long or whatever. Some of his songs, but I think it's a nice number. So we've really got a very very quite low key side one. We then get to side two, and it starts off with Ding Dong, which is sort of because it was released fairly near the end of very near the end of 1974. George comes up with a New Year song and it's quite repetitive, but it sounds much better on the album than it does as an individual single. It just fits into the proceedings quite well. It's perfectly inoffensive. It was a single, not in everywhere, but it didn't do a massive chart action in most places. It's got number 38 in the UK, but a number 10 in Holland, of all places, where George is very, very popular. At this time, after that we've got Dark Horse, the title track. Now this was the first single in most countries, and in America it got to number 15. It's a great song, Dark Horse. Really summing up kind of a person. George writes it about himself. I'm a dark horse riding on a dark race course. But it's a really good song, some beautiful flute. One of the strongest tracks on the album. It was released in the UK as a single in early 75, but failed to chart. The next track is Far East Man. Far East Man, I didn't realise this, was actually written with George wrote it with Ronnie Wood of The Faces and Rolling Stones, and it's a lovely song. It's basically dedicated to Ravi Shankar, and saying things like we mustn't let him down. We've got, because he was he came to George in 1971 and asked George to put on a concert for Bangladesh, which had been very badly flooded, I think it was. And it's a lovely song. Ronnie Wood recorded it for his first album, which I think is I think it's called I Got an Album to Do. And George plays on Ronnie's version of the song. It's a lovely, lovely song. George's work is always at the very best, always very, very sincere. And then we've got the last track, which is the longest of the track, Jai Shri Krishna, which means it is he. It means it is he. Sorry, I have to keep reflecting to my notes. It's very nicely played. It's just it's just in tune with the rest of the album. And George's religious views mean a lot to him. And I'm a Christian. I don't expect anyone to knock Christianity. I'm not gonna knock George's religious beliefs. He's very sincere, and I've met Hare Krishna guy in London. Absolutely lovely. And the album has, because I've got the CD version, I can't read all the it's very hard to read some of the print because it's so small. George is seen in the gatefold cover walking along with a friend. I don't know who it is, but I had to get my reading glasses out to tell you what one of them says to somebody says one of them says to the other. I think it's to George. Oh no, it's George saying, "Well, Leo, what say we promenade through the park?" Don't know quite what that means. This was the album was released at a time when George was really having not a good time. He was touring America, and his concert was getting a lot of bad reviews. And John Lennon read about it in the paper, felt very sorry for George, and wondered whether he could come on perhaps on one of George's concerts in New York and help him out. So John tried to get hold of George, presumed by telephone, in the various places where George was staying. He got no reply, no pun intended, but he didn't get any answer back from George at all. So he went to one of George's New York concerts, and being John Lennon, it wasn't difficult to get a backstage pass to a George Harrison concert. So John went around the back and I think went into, knocked on George's dressing room door and went in. And he said to George, why haven't you replied to any of my messages? I wanted to help you. And George just looked at him for a number of seconds with a Harrison stare, and then flew into a rage about something that happened that John had done to George some 8 years previously. I don't know any more about what happened afterwards, but that's just a little. I guess we all hurt each other, don't we, in times. And I know that the two of them loved each other very much. And by the way, I've forgotten to talk about the B-side. The B-side of the first singles, whether it happened to be Ding Dong or Dark Horse, is a song called "I Don't Care Anymore." And George starts the song starts up, and George says, "Ladies and gentlemen, we've got a B-side to do. We haven't got much time, so we better get on with it." And I think George is basically referring to the fact that a lot of B-sides are really, really not very good. A lot of them sound like they've been written in the bath. Beatles always, of course, had magnificent B-sides, and I think George is basically just knocking the B-side in general. I also think he was splitting up with Patty at the time, his wife, and I think it's basically talking about that. And it's a perfectly respectable but quite loose B-side. Well, to sum up on Dark Horse, it's I think it's one for the fans only. I don't think Beatles Monthly suggested you didn't use it and play it to someone you're going to try and turn into a George Harrison fan. Roy Carr and Tony Tyler said of it, it's worse than living in the material world. Well, just a minute, I thought Living in the Material World was a good album. And they also said it's a boring album. One wishes it had not come from an ex-Beatle. Well, I don't think it's boring. I think it needs a few plays to get the full enjoyment out of it. It may be a low patch in George's solo career. He was certainly around this time becoming, as far as the UK was concerned, an album artist. But the album didn't chart in the UK, but it went to number 4 in the USA. So it's one of George's lowest chart positions of an album. but I don't think he's got anything to apologise for, and I don't think he's let the fans down. And it's worth getting nowadays. Of course, when people were buying albums in 1974, they were very, very expensive. They have, in the whole scheme of things, become much cheaper. So if you don't get an album that's up completely, it pleases you, perhaps it's not so hard now. I think what's happening as the years go by, I think the Beatles' solo work in general is getting better appraisal. I think rather than the times that these works came out, I think people are beginning to revalue them for the better. Anyhow, I hope you've enjoyed my little blog. As I say, I love George Harrison very much. I think he wasn't expected to do a great deal when the Beatles split up, because he was the guy with the 2 songs on the album, on each Beatles album. But he's really done very, very well. And well, all the Beatles solo works have done well. But I hope you've enjoyed this, and I'll see you in the next one. God bless.